Every lap I run is like the last lap of the Daytona 500.
Okay, coming in.
And you've got to be able to have that type of intensity, because if you don't, you're going to get passed.
You got it!
The goal is to win. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go out there and win.
Look at this, look at this.
If it wasn't dangerous, it wouldn't be exciting. You know, the danger gets the adrenaline running, and that's what I love. You know, I love the fact that we're on the edge out there. You're walking that edge a lot of the time.
Not gonna be good. Not gonna be good. We can't see. I can't see.
When you get in the boat, it's unbelievable. We want to do whatever we can do to be successful.
Got it. Keep turning, keep turning, keep turning.
It's a balancing act. You know, the water's changing all the time.
One lap will be completely different than the next lap. Nothing's constant.
You know, to be racing along the beaches here and have people in swimsuits waving from the beach is just, it's just crazy bonkers.
You know, there's just way more, you know, mathematics that go into this than just, you know, racing cars.
Here we go, the pinnacle, the top of the world in offshore powerboat racing, the Superboat World Championships from Key West, Florida, presented by Steel. Man, we have got a big crowd on hand in this popular destination, this fabulous place here in America for the World Championship. Tommy Sanders here with Mike Yawoski, and of course a full season precedes all these goings on here for 3 days in Key West, but this is it. This is the pinnacle of performance.
This is it. Remember, 0 points coming into the first day of racing in Key West. It's a combined total 3 days of racing with testing in between. It's a lot of the teams. It's a lot for the spectators to watch. It's really, really exciting.
All of the racing here at these World Championships divided into basically 7 distinct classes today. We're concentrating on really the top 2 classes, Superboat Unlimited and Superboat. With 3 days of racing in front of you, you can't discount any one of those days. As a matter of fact, day number 1 is super important.
I'd love to take a victory on day 1. Always kind of sets the mood for the whole week. You never know. As long as you can finish kind of in the top 3, you got a good shot at it for the whole week and for the championship.
Anything could happen. You know, you could be on your game the first day and fall off the second and third day. You could be off your game the first day and be on second and third day, you know. Got a very competitive class. Everybody in Cleveland, everybody in this class is really up their game, man.
We changed the seats around in the boat this year. Actually, I'm throttle instead of driving. I got Chuck Brockus with me. We got a hard-working team. Everybody is focused this year, and we've always been a bridesmaid, never a bride, but we're looking to try to change that this year. Thank you.
You don't absolutely have to dominate on day number 1, but it sure helps in this 3-day campaign, and we're ready for racing. Very, very soon is our start with our observer boats getting in place, our officials, and so forth. And this race course, Mike Yawoski, very unique and unique to Key West.
They'll run out of the Key West Harbor through some navigational buoys across the start-finish line. They'll run down this straightaway, slight dog leg to the right out towards turn number 1, known as the wall. Some passing done here, Tommy, last year, which decided some world championships in some classes. Then they'll run along the shortest straightaway of the course towards Fort Zachary Taylor. Another 90-degree turn back into Key West Harbor. Remember, some drainage pipes here cause some bumps for the boats to go over. Then they will cross the finish line in front of the annex and then back down into Key West Harbor for the 90-degree left-hand turn. Remember the drama, Tommy, between CMS and Miss Geico last year in that exact corner.
Turn 3, definitely keep your eyes on that. May want to play it conservatively. If you got to make something happen, you take a chance there. The teams in Superboat, Cleveland Construction, Imcon, Performance Boat Center, Pro Floors, Steel, and WHM Motorsports. And speaking of WHM Motorsports, a perennial favorite always here in Key West. Last year, they were coming in trying to repeat their championship from 2015, and we're set up to do so on the final day. Had the lead in points going into the final day, but on that final race, they came up against Performance Boat Center.
Not only was this the final race, but it was the final lap. WHM led from the green flag, took a big hop there, scrubbed off some speed. That allowed Performance Boat Center Jimmy Johns to get on the inside. They had the inside lane going through the corner, made the pass stick, and that gave them the World Championship. What a dramatic finish in Superboat.
So number 5, WHM Motorsports, US 1 Performance Boat Center, also in this race. As we mentioned, the field of 6 getting closer and closer to start time. Mike, 10 laps, 42 miles. The winner gets 250 points for each of the first 2 days of racing.
The boats come out of their mill and up on plane. The pace boat just to the left of your screen. WHM Imcon Cleveland Construction. All the boats have to line up about 100 feet behind the pace boat for this start. And we have a green flag. We're going racing in Key West. Superboat class getting us started. Cleveland Construction, WHM Imcon, your top 3 getting great starts there. The rest of the field, Performance Boat Center, Jimmy John, a lot further back. Not sure what happened there, but look at the deck-to-deck battle between WHM and Cleveland Construction. Imcon in third behind these 2 boats as WHM finally starts to pull just a little bit of a lead.
WHM trying to pick up where they tried to leave off last year in first place, at least until the last moment of racing in 2016. We are in the cockpit with these guys top to bottom. That's WHM, Cleveland Construction, and Imcon. We go down this first leg of this 3-legged race course, a little less than 2 miles before they hit that first turn, and it's approaching quickly, Mike.
They head to turn number 1 on board with WHM. This is the wall. Look how close Billy Moff cuts those buoys. Known for hugging that tight turn. There is the exit to turn number 1. So now they will straighten back up and head down towards Fort Zachary Taylor. Cleveland Construction on the outside, though, didn't lose much ground to WHM. This is a great showing for this boat as they're still trying to get the boat set up running the way they want to.
Yeah, Cleveland Construction, like WHM, perpetually one of the competitive boats in this superboat class. This team heading through the short leg with WHM still in control, but Cleveland Construction, as you mentioned, Mike, very much keeping in touch with it. We can see it right there.
The driver, Chuck Brodus, is doing a great job. He's keeping that line right behind WHM in clean water. So he's got plenty of traction out there in order to not lose ground. But look at Imcon. They made up a lot of ground on that outside leg, and there is steel. But Tommy, US 1 Performance Boat Center Jimmy Johns is all the way back in 5th place. Not the start they wanted to have after such a great season last year.
Yeah, but on the other hand, as we watch inside the cabin with WHM there, we got 10 laps of racing here, and we're just now completing our first lap as WHM speeds by what they call the Outer Mall here in Key West. That's where all our spectators are, and huge crowds again here in 2017 for this race. Looking at a great performance early going by WHM.
Well, they are picking up right where they left off as they head into the harbor turn. Watch Billy Moff cuts right next to the buoy, once again known for doing that.
Oh, wide for Cleveland Construction, look at that.
Yeah, it looked like Cleveland Construction might have spun out there just a little bit. Of course, that benefited Imcon. They were able to get to the inside of Cleveland Construction. They now take over 2nd place, and Cleveland Construction is going to have to deal with steel now as they've lost a tremendous amount of ground. They'll cut through the rooster tail. Yep, that's what they're going to do. They're trying to get back to the inside of Imcon, and they do so.
Maybe a little too fast as we take a look at this turn one more time for Cleveland Construction. Too fast going into that turn?
A lot of nerves on the first day of racing, especially going into this turn, because you really got to be smart about what you do. May have gone in just a little bit too hot, didn't allow the boat to set down in the corner, and you could see the back of the boat wanted to kind of come around just a little bit. It started to spin, but it was a good save for Chuck and Ed.
Well, as in all races here, there are consequences that occur in turn number 3. Keep your eyes on turn number 3 as we head into lap number 2.
Look at boat number 13, Steel. They have made up some ground. Now they're passing Cleveland Construction, taking over 3rd place. So just that quick, Tommy, Cleveland Construction went from 2nd to 4th because of a mistake going through the harbor turn. Jake Noble, Grant Bruggerman, number 13 Steel, now have their sights set on Imcon as they head to turn number 1, the wall. Let's see what they can do in this very difficult corner also.
Yeah, the Steel, the big movers in this lap number 2 early on in lap number 2. And here they are going from 4th place, as you say, Mike, to try to take on Imcon, dueling for 2nd place right now.
Okay, go to it, go to it.
Okay, we're going to it.
Go to it. You ready?
I got it.
Yep, that's what I want to hear. Keep turning. All right, let's go to WHM.
Okay.
Sweep out a bit, straight. Yep, following his water.
Okay.
That's all we can do for now. Follow Billy.
Got it.
Stay in his water. Stay in his water. Just follow his line, okay?
Got it. I'm following Billy's line.
Follow it. Follow it. Follow it. Wheel it around. Wheel it around. Not backing off. Wheel it around. Come on. Keep going.
Go.
I'm going. All right. Sweep out the Imcon. Sweep out the Imcon. Beautiful.
Just a little taste of the interplay between the driver and the throttle man there. But right now, WHM still firmly in control of the lead. Mike, they may have stretched it out a little bit in the last few seconds.
This is exactly what WHM wanted to have happen. As the second and third place boats battle, they're actually slowing each other down just a little bit, running more defensively. That's letting Billy and Jay just stretch it out even further. Boat running great as they head into this harbor turn.
Harbor turn again, turn number 3, where all the action seems to happen on this race course, even from the very start. First race of day number 1. Billy Moff and Jay Muller cutting that one very tight. Well, years of experience on this turn cannot be discounted. A very valuable thing to have in your pocket for this WHM Motorsports team.
MCON in second, Steele in third. MCON going around the corner. Oh, little slide out there. Whoa, MCON almost goes around. Maybe the same mistake that Cleveland Construction made just a lap ago in the corner. That allows Steele to make up some ground and should get Steele second place, and it does, as now MCON will have to settle back down, set the boat back up, gather their wits about him, and try and catch Steele. But now MCON has fallen back to third after an issue in the harbor turn. And Tommy, that harbor turn seems to be playing a factor in this Superboat race.
Yeah, Jake Noble looking like an old pro there alongside Grant Bruggeman, taking the harbor turn, turn number 3 in fine style. And really, Steele is the team on the move, 2 laps plus into this first day of racing.
The Superboat World Championship presented by Steele is brought to you by WHM Plumbing and Heating Contractors, Cleveland Construction, and by Steele, the #1 selling brand of gasoline-powered handheld outdoor power equipment in America.
Superboat International World Championships from Key West, Florida, presented by Steele for you. This is day 1 of 3 days of racing. This is the powerful class, the Superboat class, the marquee class, out here in their race number 1. And WHM Motorsports, the champs from back in 2015, almost repeated in 2016, and they're trying to put another win in their column here in 2017. Billy Moff and Jay Muller.
Out to their early lead right from the start. The green flag dropped and they jumped out with MCON and Cleveland Construction, but they have simply just pulled away from the fleet as you look at our top 4. Tommy, look at that. US 1 Performance Boat Center, Jimmy John's now in 4th. That means they have gotten around Cleveland Construction. Not sure what's going on with the number 4 boat as we go on board with the 4 top teams in Superboat. Look at MCON currently in 3rd place. Tommy, that is a rookie team. Tyler Miller, Tyson Garvin, first time racing together here in Key West, Florida, and they're running with the veterans in Superboat.
Yeah, that's a team from Kansas, believe it or not, in Superboat racing. Cleveland Construction, you talk about their quick start through the first lap and a half, but right now, definitely losing some momentum, Mike.
Not sure what's going on. They did have that incident in the harbor turn where they spun out just slightly. That allowed MCON to get around, but they have lost more ground since then. In fact, about to get passed by another boat on the inside. That looks like NZ1 Pro Floors, and it is. They are on the inside. Cleveland Construction on the outside. Cleveland Construction gets really ugly.
Good. No, that's a spin out there.
They did spin out, but luckily they kept the boat upright, and it looks like they kept the engines running, and they did. So they will get back up on a plane and try and catch the leaders in Superboat. Actually, Tommy, this has been a very tragic year for this team. Their former throttle man, Keith Holmes, was killed in a tragic racing accident earlier in the season. Bob Teague had come on board to be the throttle man for this team this year, but he had to sit out of Key West due to a hand injury. That brought Chuck Brodus in to drive in Key West, Florida.
Well, this offshore powerboat racing community is a small one and a tight-knit one. You can believe it for all these teams all week long. The spirit of Keith Holmes is very, very strong.
Authorities say Holmes was killed in a crash while he was racing Sunday afternoon at the St. Clair River Classic. Holmes was known around the world, and in his sport, he will be greatly missed.
Keith taught me a lot. He said to me, he says, you know what, Ed? He says, you're a good driver. He says, let's run the big boat in an event. We went to Lake of the Ozark. We were running the backstretch at 182 consistently. There was a state trooper with a radar gun. When we got out of that boat, that guy come up and said we were absolutely out of our minds. Keith was so proud of that run, we left it in the GPS all the way up. It was there. We never took it out.
Keith was a competitor, an unbelievable competitor. You know, when you're out here racing, you put everything that you have into it. You know, we all take risks every day. Every time you get behind the wheel of your car, you're taking a risk. And he wanted to do whatever he could do to be successful as well.
He had that passion that was, you know, contagious.
Keith was a very good friend of mine. Just breaks my heart what happened to him. You hate to see any of that stuff happen on the race course. It bothers me to this day, but we all try to be as careful as we can and do our jobs out there.
Keith and I got to be really, really close. He taught me a lot about driving a boat. I thought I was good, but you don't really know until you get with somebody else that is good. When you lose a fellow racer, it's bad enough, but when you use a friend, it's even worse.
The loss of Keith Holmes, undeniably a big void left in this offshore powerboat racing community as we get back to racing here, getting past the 2/3 mark in this first race of 3.
WHM has led since the green flag. The race has actually been for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Remember, this boat, Cleveland Construction, was in 2nd place. They had an issue in the harbor turn on the first lap. That allowed MCON to get into 2nd place. Then MCON had the same incident happen in the harbor turn on the 3rd lap. That allowed Steele to get into 2nd place. And Performance Boat Center Jimmy John's, the defending world champions, they are now in 4th, not having the day that Johnny and Maverick wanted to for sure.
But ahead of it all, as we say, this has been the story through the first 2/3 of this race, running in the clean water. It's WHM Motorsports. We're going to take a break and be back with the final third of racing in race number 1 in the Superboat class. Welcome back to Key West, Florida, the Superboat World Championships presented by Steel. 3 days of racing, 7 classes of racing, and this is the Superboat class. This is a very regulated, very flat competitive field here for these teams. Also at the same time being a little loose and freewheeling because they know, as always, WHM always impeccable preparation for this race, unquestionable commitment. Billy Hoff is committed to being national and world champion each and every year. WHM is a high standard to shoot for.
And out of all the boats on the course right now, Tommy, these two, Jay Muller and Billy Moff, have been racing together the longest in this Superboat class. All these other teams have had changes in drivers, changes in throttlemen, so on and so forth, but Billy and Jay have always stayed together, and you can see that experience showing through here in race number 1.
Take a look on the right. That's the Steel team, the 13 boat there, and they are having probably their best start ever in these World Championships, holding on to 2nd place solidly in that spot right now. See if they can hold off US 1, Performance Boat Center, till the end of the race.
Well, they don't want to be too defensive. They want to stay in 2nd, but they don't want to lose too much ground to WHM. They can sit right now in 2nd place, be happy with 2nd place, 250 points today, 250 points on Friday, and 500 points on Sunday. They are still well within the hunt for a world championship, so they've still got to run their race and maintain their position on the course.
Yeah, you can't emphasize that enough. That 500-point double points possibility on the final day. It can make a lot of teams that are a little sick get well very, very quickly, but that's a long ways off in the future. Right now, the finish line is looming. There they go. WHM Motorsports across the taking the checkered flag. That's a great first effort in race number 1 of 3 in these World Championships. Billy Moff and Jay Muller.
The remainder of the Superboat class is going to have to go back, do some homework, and figure something out to catch WHM. Billy and Jay put on a clinic today here in Key West, Florida, showing how to lead start to finish. There's boat number 13, Steel. They come across the line in 2nd place. A great day for them after a very mediocre start, not where they wanted to be.
Yeah, for them probably a bit of a victory, though. I mean, who is going to catch WHM on this day? It's a rare thing out here to see a wire-to-wire victory in a race. You know what else is rare, and we're on the verge of right now, Mike? I think every team in this field, you just get Cleveland Construction in, is going to complete all 10 laps.
Looking at the results of race 1, WHM Motorsports takes the win. Steele in second, Performance Boat Center Jimmy Johns in third, and MCon in fourth. They beat out 2 veteran teams in Pro Floors and Cleveland Construction in their first time racing in Key West, Florida.
Absolutely. Hats off to the rookies, MCon, as we take a look at the start of this race, and it was just this story all race long. WHM out to the lead and not surrendering.
And what that allowed WHM to do, Tommy, is have clean water, run their race, pick their lines. They didn't have to worry about anything else on that course. They could go anywhere they wanted, anytime they wanted, and any speed they wanted, and it paid off for them.
Yeah. That said, of course, perfect conditions all race long. That contributes to good preparation. That's part of that winning combination, which WHM was certainly showing us today. In race number 1 of the Superboat competition, now time for our Steel power move. I think maybe it might be Steel, Mike.
It's going to go to boat number 13, Steel, for sure. Here they're getting around Jimmy John's Performance Boat Center. But what they did was they went from 4th place to 3rd place in a matter of about 3 laps. Cleveland Construction first, they got around them, and then they got around MCon right here. MCon making a little bit of a mistake right there, boat getting a little sideways. That allowed Steel to get to the inside. Now, while Steel may not have been catching them on the straightaway, the experience of that team paid off to know where they needed to be in that turn to get them into 2nd place.
Solid racing, good, clean racing up and down these field of 6 boats in the Superboat class here. It's been a big, entertaining day for the crowd. A big crowd during a weekday here in Key West, Florida. These teams will put her on the rack and go sort of figure out what's going to happen in race number 2. We got plenty of racing yet to come on day 1 here from Key West, Florida. When we return, hey, it's the big boats. Everything, anything goes in Superboat Unlimited when we return. Welcome back to Key West, Florida, and the most important week of the year in offshore powerboat racing. The Superboat World Championships presented by Steel. 7 classes deciding world championships here. We're taking a look at the top 2 classes today. We saw the Superboats in action, and now Superboat Unlimited. Unlimited speed, and maybe, perhaps more important, unlimited spending. These are the thoroughbreds, Mike, in this sport that's unlike any other in terms of racetrack, in terms of power, and in terms of how these boats are piloted through.
Well, exactly, and when you speak of pilots, there you see 2 people getting into the boat. You have a driver, you have a throttle man. One gives it gas, one turns a wheel. Completely separate responsibilities, but equally important.
If you want to put yourself into a mindset, set on the passenger side in the car and have a brake and a throttle, and then have somebody sit beside you just with a steering wheel. And then have him go as fast as he can through a course.
Go to the right a little bit. Get out of the swing. Go to the right. Great job. Go to the inside. Go to the inside. Get the clean water.
Well, it's a very important gel to get together, the driver and the throttle man, because they do have to coordinate much more of a team than a lot of sports.
It's going to cut me again. I know. Wait to flex on our right. Okay. We squeeze Randy. Good.
The driver's really got to concentrate on the buoys coming up. The throttle man's got to concentrate, on the engines, keeping those at the maximum RPM.
You got 2 engines. There's the drives, there's the trim tabs, RPMs. I mean, you've got to monitor the motors constantly, plus communications. To drive and throttle, you just don't have enough hands.
One hand is definitely dancing on the throttles backwards and forwards. As soon as the boat comes out of the water, it's like driving along the motorway in a manual car and stamping your foot on the clutch. If you don't take your foot off the accelerator, the revs just go through the red line.
I have to feel where he's throttled, where he's trimmed, and he's got to feel my turn, and we have to react to that. We have to react to that at exactly the right time.
We're heading into the harbor at 130 miles an hour, and you're sitting next to someone that's got your steering wheel, and I've got the throttles, and you've got to coordinate the turn together while you've got a boat on the inside of you, one in front of you that's washing you down, basically taking away your visibility. Yeah, it's quite a chore.
Okay, go to it, go to it.
Okay, we're going to it.
Go to it. You ready?
I got it.
Yep, that's what I want to hear. Keep turning. All right, let's go to WHM.
Okay.
2 people in the boat, that's everything. Jay Muller and Billy Moff, they've been together forever. So you got 2 guys in there that probably don't even talk to each other.
Me and Billy have been together so long, we don't even need to talk. The real key is always
being in sync with your partner.
Well, that's it. You got to gel. You have to be able to communicate with each other even without talking. It's all about the feel.
You got to really acclimate yourself and judge distance and judge reaction time between who you're with and yourself.
You got to be in sequence. And to drive and be in sequence for that wave, you have to be just driving. To be on sequence for the waves, you got to be able to pull back, throttle through, and or know when to push it. You can't be doing both. No matter what anybody says, you can't do both in a race nowadays. Anywhere from 120 to 170 miles an hour, it's not possible.
Oh, the final result's so dependent on teamwork. That's true of just about every sport, especially true in this one, Mike.
And speaking of new teammates, how about James Shepard and Steve Curtis? James on the left, Steve on the right. They are now the driver and throttleman duo for Miss Geico. And there is boat number 17, Wake Effects. They are your defending world championships, Jeff Harris and Rusty Rom.
All right, all our teams getting ready, very, very close to starting time when we return. Superboat Unlimited from here in Key West.
The Superboat World Championship presented by Steel is brought to you by AMH Construction, WHM Plumbing and Heating Contractors, and powered by Steel, built in America, believing in America.
We're back Key West, Florida, a very important week of the year in offshore powerboat racing, the World Championships. Superboat International presented by Steel. Ready to go with this unlimited class. And of course, you always picking favorites. A lot of people picking the champions from last year. Of course, that's going to be Wake Effects.
Boat number 17 has a veteran throttle man, Jeff Harris, sitting on the left. Jeff knows what it takes to win.
In Key West, every day matters, and I've heard guys say, well, we're going to take it easy the first race and second race. Nobody takes it easy. It's Key West. Every lap I run is like the last lap of the Daytona 500, and you win everything. That's how you run here. And you've got to be able to have that type of intensity to push every day, because if you don't, you're going to get passed. And every point you're behind can matter. I won last year by, 12 points? I mean, it's amazing. So it's tight here. You never give an inch. It's Key West.
Wake Effects US won. We should point that out. For the second year in a row, they have won the regular season circuit to come in here and pick a championship. That's the aim this year, just like they were able to pull it off last year. Also, we have to mention Superboat Extreme, another important class here. Yet, Mike, there's just one boat that is competing in that class, but they need to go ahead and race in order to legitimately grasp the title.
And they are the best of the best in Superboat Extreme. Boat number 1, AMH Construction Instigator, and Peter Meyer have assembled one of the best teams in offshore powerboat racing, and you won't find anyone more consistent.
Normally I'm in the boat myself. I've actually raced a couple races this year. My doctor's been, he doesn't want me racing here at Key West. He says I get too excited when I come back. I go to the doctor before I come back. He says my numbers are all off the charts, which I'm sure it is, not just for me, but for everybody else that boat races.
Nice job, nice job, nice job. Get a line, shake up, got it.
Throttleman for this race, I got Anthony Smith. He's very good at what he does. He's a very good throttleman. I mean, there's a lot of guys out here. Everybody thinks they're a throttleman. Believe me, not everybody's a throttleman.
There's a finesse level to throttling. Something you really have to do a lot to get good at. It's not something you could just get in a boat and teach somebody. You have to have some real experience boating.
As far as my driver goes, it's my sponsor, Aaron Hope. He's new at it. He's been on board as a sponsor for the last couple of years. And this year I've had him in the boat for at least about 10 races or so. So he's gotten much more adapt to reading the waves and what's going on in the boat.
It was a great learning experience. This has been my first year in the boat. I've raced about 10 races now, and just soaking in all the knowledge from a lot of people who have been doing it a long time. I'm surrounding myself with Anthony Smith, Peter Meyer, the boat owner, and so I'm just trying to take in all the knowledge. I'm a rookie, and just learning from all these guys and trying to be competitive but also be safe.
Aaron has really stepped up to the plate. He's really getting adapted to driving. He's doing the job.
We'll definitely have our eye on the #1 boat, the Instigator, throughout the course of this race, but this one, mostly what we'll be seeing is this, the Thoroughbreds. No restrictions at all. This is the Superboat Unlimited class. Unrestricted engine, propeller, weight, and so forth. Length is the only restriction, and we are out of the mill, Mike, and we're getting ready to start this thing.
Just as we saw in Superboat, you see the pace boat off to your left. They have the yellow flag up, waiting for the green flag, trying to get all these teams to line up and make this a fair start. There's Miss Geico, CMS, Wake Effects. A new boat here, CT Marine. As we have a green flag, we're going racing in Superboat Unlimited. Let's see who gets out to the early start. I like what the rookies are doing in CT Marine, boat number 18. But look at boat number 3, CMS, picking up where they left off last year as Wake Effects, boat number 17, tries to catch them. Geico and CT Marine, the top 4 in Superboat Unlimited.
8 teams total in this field. This is first of 10 laps here. We are already approaching turn #1, Mike.
Look at this 4 wide racing going into the corner. CMS is going to lead as they start their turn nice and wide. Wake Effects on the inside. Big move there by Wake Effects, and whoa! CMS rolls up on its side just a little bit, but Wake Effects squared up that corner, and look at the ground. They have been able to make up on CMS, and we talked about the driver and throttle man earlier, and that took a good relationship between driver and throttle man to make that corner. That's what's called threading the needle as you go into a turn. You can see here, CMS took a nice wide line. They wanted to carry as much speed as they could, but Wake Effects had clean water just by a little bit on the inside, and that allowed them to make that sharp of a turn. Meanwhile, CMS had their own issues on the outside. They rolled the boat up to the high side, had to slow down. Wake Effects was able to catch up on the inside. Let's see how that works out for Wake Effects, being so close to CMS going into turn #2.
That was an aggressive precision maneuver for the 17 Wake Effects team. This team has been a force of nature the past 2 years in this unlimited class. And as they get through turn #2 and get into the final leg, the third leg of this racetrack, they gained a little time on CMS3, but I tell you what, they still have a long way to go.
And remember, these are almost identical boats. Wake Effects used to be owned by Bob Bull and campaigned under CMS. Rusty leased it last year and then bought it this year, now running it as his own team. But here is CMS boat number 3 out to the early lead going into the harbor turn. As Tommy, we go on board, I think about what happened last year between Miss Geico and CMS and wonder if CMS isn't happy not to see Geico in their rearview camera.
I don't think you have to wonder too very hard. I think they're extremely happy with the way it's going right now. For these veterans, Bob Bull and Randy Sisson, the CMS3 team, thoroughly in the lead right now, but we're just 1 lap into this 10-lap race. We've got plenty more racing coming for Superboat Unlimited. We'll be back to Key West after these messages. Back in Key West, Florida, Superboat International World Championships. And this is the unlimited class now on lap 4, close to finishing lap 4 of 10 laps in this race. Best 3 dominant teams so far in this race jumped out to an early lead, but being eaten into ever so slightly each and every lap just about by number 17, Wake Effects. And on the right, look at third place, Miss Geico. Miss Geico looking, Mike, to turn around the fortunes of this prestige boat. They've had troubles over the past couple of years.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Wake Effects first. Wake Effects made that move in turn #1 at the wall right at the start of the race. Remember, they squared up that corner, and that's proved to be vital for them because they've been able to maintain with CMS. While they haven't passed him and gotten up there with him yet, they've at least been able to keep them in check. Boat number 113, Miss Geico, though, these guys are on a mission. They've made a huge change in the personnel to the boat this year. The reason for it is they feel they needed to do better. They had to do better for their sponsor, Geico, and that's what they're trying to do here. They've hired Steve Curtis and James Shepard to drive and throttle the boat.
Well, this team, we say it's a prestige boat. You talk about boat shows, exposure across the country. This one gets the lion's share of it, has for years and years. Yet in the last 2 years, they've barely finished a race here in Key West. Steve Curtis, James Shepard, looking to turn that all around here in 2017.
We've got some very experienced guys in the Miss Geico boat this year. Steve Curtis, multi-world champion, and James Shepard, the same multi-world champion. Quite good for me because they're British boys, so they actually understand what I'm saying when I'm communicating with them on the radio.
Keith, radio check, copy me.
I've got you, Gary.
I absolutely adore coming to Key West. The first time I raced here was with the Lucas Oil team back in 2005, and I came back in 2006 with Nigel Hook, and we won the Super V World Championship. So I got the bug from then, 2006. And I'm back this year in probably what I think is one of the best teams in the world.
James is very, very cool under pressure. So you never see James get flustered, which is a good thing, because in the other seat you've got Steve Curtis that is bouncing off the walls.
Go, 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 go. Shut up, sorry, please.
Yeah, well, I'm a second-generation powerboat racer, so I've been coming here a long time. And the first time I came down here, I was a mechanic for a team back in the early 80s. Tolman Group team, which was an English team that came over here to try and win the World Championship. And it progressed from there. And my first real big race down here was in 1985 in what was Class 1, which was the biggest class in the world at that point. And I was lucky enough to win it. So that made me the youngest ever Class 1 world champion. And so I've been progressing ever since. So I've raced here quite a bit, and now to come back and be at this level again with the Geico team is just fantastic.
James Shepard, Steve Curtis, a couple of Brits, expanding the international dimension of the competition, and the unlimited class certainly is indicative of that. Lots of internationals in the field here across the 7 classes in Key West. And this Geico hanging in there for now, at least in 3rd place.
Well, it's good for Miss Geico. They needed this. They need a good first day. In years past, they've had a good first day, but then it's those last 2 days where it seems to fall apart for them. So hopefully they can hold it together. Steve, James, and Gary, all very good at what they do with Miss Geico. But boat number 3, CMS, they look perfect, Tommy. They have led since the start. Wake Effects was able to make up just a little bit of ground into turn number 1 on the first lap. But a boat we haven't talked very much about is that boat in the bottom right-hand corner, Team CRC Sunlight Supply. They had a great regular season series with Superboat International, and I think they came into Key West with a little bit higher expectations in how they're doing right now. But as you said earlier in our broadcast, you can't win the race on the first day. You can definitely make a statement, but Gary Ballou and Mike DeVries are 2 of the best in the sport, 2 very, very experienced team owner and throttleman and driver, and I believe that as the week goes on, they will progress into where they want to be and be a contender for this World Championship.
The only West Coast team in this 8-team field in Superboat Unlimited. CRC Sunlight Supply has certainly impressed throughout the last couple of years, but CMS 3, the boat that's impressed today, first round of competition for Superboat Unlimited. Looks like they are unstoppable here as we get into the final laps. We'll have the last third of racing here in this first race for Unlimited when we return to Key West.
The Superboat World Championship presented by Steel is brought to you by Cleveland Construction and by Steel and the Steel Lightning Battery System. What can you do on a single charge?
Welcome back to Key West, Florida, Superboat Unlimited class, this first race of 3 for the World Championship. Well, we're getting down to the final laps of this one right here. The Superboat World Championships presented by Steel, and boy, there they are, those wily veterans, Bob Bull and Randy Sissom. Came out with a lead right out of the gate and hung on to it through this thing here, so a touch of class for this team. Maybe except for that.
Whoa, another mistake there by CMS. Tommy, this is very unusual for this team. Very uncharacteristic mistakes. We saw it happen in turn number 1. That allowed Wake Effects to get on the inside, and it just happened again there. Almost the same scenario. It looked like they may have hit a rogue wave or something strange happened causing the back of that boat to want to come around a little bit, but that has allowed Wake Effects to keep in check. Those little tiny mistakes, they add up towards the end of the race, and if Wake Effects can capitalize on that, they may be able to take the win today.
Behind our 2 leaders, it's been pretty much constant for the last half of the race. Miss Geico, 113, making a good showing in comparison to the last few years here, but wow, something's happening right now.
Miss Geico slowing tremendously. I do hear some revs of the engine. Not sure if both engines are still running, but hear that? The engine is revving up, so we'll have to see what happened to them. Could be a transmission, could be a drive shaft, could even be a propeller. Be a rough day if it was a propeller at the cost of about $15,000 a prop. So not what that team wants to have happen, but they were on such a good redemption run here. First day with a new team. James and Steve were dialing it in, getting it right.
See the flares come down and start to see this massive infrastructure we have for the purposes of safety here at these World Championships. It is a lot of people on call for incidents just like this, Mike.
So the first thing you saw happen was the helicopter flew in, they dropped orange smoke signaling that there is an issue in this area of the course and the teams need to pay attention in order to give plenty of room to the safety crews. Next, you have the course marshal with the yellow flag. You saw a pace boat with the yellow flag. While it won't slow down the entire race, it will let other racers know there is an issue here and be careful when you go through this area. Steve Curtis walks up to the engine hatch. Let's see if we can hear what happened.
Propeller fell off. Good. Propeller fell off. Starboard propeller fell off.
Well, that'll shut you down. Propeller coming off. That's a serious enough problem for the 113 boat. Miss Geico, let's see if we can see exactly when it happens here. Gonna be kind of hard to see that, though.
Yeah, the boat's attitude never really changed at all. You can't really see anything with the wake or with the rooster tails until they started to slow, but Steve Curtis was revving the engine. He knew that something wasn't getting traction, whether it was a transmission, whether it was a drive shaft, ended up being a propeller. That's a really tough day for the Miss Geico team. Again, that's about a $15,000 piece of stainless steel hanging off the back of that boat that is now at the bottom of the ocean. Very unfortunate for Miss Geico. You know, any team can lose a propeller. It happened to CMS a few years back where their propeller shot up into the air, but hopefully Geico got enough out of this race where they could come back on Friday and finish well.
Well, that's the hope anyway. Meanwhile, out on the course, you can see leader CMS3 now involving lapping other competitors. They've been doing that well. The success has been that great for this team. How does that confuse things, though, or what's the potential downside of that, Mike?
Well, the potential downside is now these boats are going to get in the way, right? They're going to be slower than these boats that are going fast, so Bob and Randy are going to have to think about their moves a lot further ahead of where they are now because of the confused water, because of the boat being in the way, and it puts Aaron and Anthony in a tough spot because they don't want to mess up anybody else's race. They want to try and stay out of the way, and they can't exactly see behind them well, so they're not going to be able to know what's happening. An example here is Wake Effect comes into the corner. Anthony and Aaron were on the outside like they were supposed to be, and they still got hit by Wake Effects. Not sure what happened there, but again, Aaron and Anthony couldn't see behind them, so they didn't know what Wake Effects was doing, and Wake Effects probably just couldn't slow down fast enough. I don't think this is really anybody's fault. It looked more like a racing incident, but again, that's what I said. They don't want to get in the way. They don't want anything to happen like that because it's caused damage now to these two boats. Don't think it's going to take anybody out of the race, but the teams will have some work to do later.
Well, the fact of the matter is it does not affect Wake Effect's position in this race. The bad news for them is this scene right here, still firmly in control. CMS3, this boat has led all the way, takes the checkered flag, and Wake Effect's number 17, just a little bit of frustration throughout this entire race, never could quite run down Bob Bull and Randy Sissom in the CMS3 boat.
And to add to the disappointment of not winning the race is probably the fact that they couldn't capitalize on the mistakes that were made by CMS. Those were two perfectly good opportunities for Wake Effects to get in there and take the first place on the first day of racing here in Key West. This incident right here, though, this is just a racing incident. Unfortunately, Aaron and Anthony couldn't see behind them. They didn't know what Wake Effects was going to do, but look at the damage right there above Instigator. They're going to have some work to do later this evening to get that all taken care of.
Good news for Instigator was they were fully able to finish the race and, of course, collected top points. They would get top points as they're the only Superboat Extreme racer here in Key West on this day, but I'm glad they were able to finish. We're all glad they were able to finish. Of course, number 17, Wake Effects, able to finish as well and hold on to those second place points. 225 points, just 25 points short of the winning total of 250 achieved by 3 CMS. So still a pretty tight points race. Look at Team CRC Sunlight Supply in third place. That's a good place to be after a single day's racing. Miss Geico able to hang in there, stay in the top 5. Something to be said for that as well, Mike.
All 3 of these boats in the top 5 are now in contention for this World Championship.
If you had to pick a favorite in this class coming into Key West, you would have said Wake Effect, still not able to take the full measure of CMS.
The boat ran fantastic. Rusty drove really good. Today was a really difficult driver's race because it was fairly flat. And man, was it tight course, really tight course, a lot of traffic. And we ran that CMS boat as hard as we could. We just couldn't get by them.
What a great day of racing. The motors ran great. My driver did awesome. We went a little hot a couple times, but he picked up the pieces and made it okay. If it goes like this again, I'll let him run the third race with me.
Superboat Unlimited and Superboat competition in the books for today. A full day of racing, though, here in Key West. All 7 classes have raced today, the first day of competition. Look at these great crowds for a weekday here. Starting with Manufacturer Production 4, let's salute our winners from day 1. That's Team Allen Lawn Care, Billy Allen and Andre Allen at the controls.
In Manufacturer Production 3, it was Second Amendment, Neil Wobe and Carl Steger on board.
In Superboat Stock, well, some tough racing in that class all day long. The winners on top, S1 FJ Propeller, that's Gary Ballou, and Jimmy Harrison at the controls. Good effort there.
In the ultra-competitive Superboat B class, it was boat V1, LSB Hurricane of Awesomeness, Revex Oil, Britt Lilly, and Ronnie Umlant taking the win.
Superboat Extreme, well, you got a taste of it in that last race. It was number 1, the sole competitors here in Superboat Extreme. AMH Construction Instigator, Aaron Hope, and Anthony Smith.
In Superboat Unlimited, Team CMS led start to finish. Bob Bull and Randy Sissom getting it done today.
And they just wrapped it up a little earlier in Superboat competition, surprising absolutely no one. Number 5, WHM Motorsports, Billy Moff and Jay Muller came loaded for bear and came out with a win. Well, a few bumps and bruises along the way today, but generally a pretty clean day of racing. Some of the favorites prevail. Some others got, one-upped at the finish line. But WHM Motorsports, of course, CMS3, all the rest of them, we salute you. All the classes will be back in action. Day number 2 of racing, that's when we'll see you next here in Key West.